Dear Minister Ananda Sangari, Minister of Public Safety, Canada. Our family has lived in Alberta for decades and has been the ongoing target of street gang violence and their successful weaponizing of the police and Alberta's judicial system. We have been repeatedly exiled by gamifiers of social dominance, people who manipulate power structures with skill, always playing to win, and never being held to account. In turn, we've been betrayed by the very institutions meant to protect all Canadians. We are no longer capable of coping with the cultural and systemic violence that permeates many corners of Alberta, covert violence that finds its final form in everyday threats, abuse, or guilt by omission. Every time that our family has picked up to start new lives, our efforts have been repeatedly thwarted. Our family has remained law-abiding and kept low profiles. We have been relentlessly hounded by community gang members, Canada's police, and its judicial system. At every turn, we have tried to contribute to this country, doing our best to bring dignity to the world. But community gangs have repeatedly targeted us with threats of murder and more. This long-standing pattern of abuse has become too heavy a burden to carry. Our family is publishing this information as a matter of record, and for those who can no longer speak. The RCMP, Calgary Police Service, and Alberta's judicial system have been active enablers in all of these tragedies. The citizen bullies who threatened our lives were never held accountable. Instead, they successfully reframed themselves as victims and were adept at weaponizing Canada's public services, particularly Alberta's police and judicial system, as if they were their own tools. Meanwhile, millions of people who could have benefited from our family's work were left with nothing. All water under the bridge, right? Answer: wrong. Our family remembers. Behind Alberta's mountains and swagger lies a province in terminal decline, politically, morally, and ecologically. It runs on irreversibly melting glaciers and mythology, a province throttled by drought, yet puffed up with the bravado of fading oil dreams. Ministers, since its founding in 1867, Canada has learned nothing from its long history of institutional failures. As the world races deeper into the technological age, Canada remains frozen in patterns of abuse. The G20 reports of police brutality, cross-country investigations into police and parliamentary gross misconduct, and repeated reviews of the RCMP, including the 2021 report, Broken Dreams, Broken Lives. The devastating effects of sexual harassment on women in the RCMP have changed nothing. Canada's culture and systems of institutional violence remain intact, choreographed behind performative rituals of self-righteousness. Like a skipping record caught in the spin of a revolving door, the faces and names change, but the stories stay the same. Even Pope Francis's apology to Indigenous Canadians has brought no restitution, as the nation-state continues tearing apart its own living ecological systems which sustain it. Not even our glaciers are spared. They have long ago begun to weep, and are expected to vanish almost entirely by this century's end. We record and publish Canada's descent for future generations to study and to encourage others to do the same. We do this to ease the work of historians and anthropologists. Our family has not felt safe living in this country for most of our lives, and we no longer pretend that we ever will. We recognize the trauma that lies beneath the surface of Canada, a trauma born of genocide, distorted history, and denial. Still, we tried to live with it. We tried to cope. But coping is no longer possible. The falsified cultures and systems that were supposed to sustain us have drained us through situational violence, psychologically, spiritually, and finally, financially, to the edge of homelessness. In the months ahead, you will hear more from us. We will use the only civil outlet still available, the open internet, not to garner likes, but to encourage others to reveal what has always been masked, especially in Alberta. The domestic violence, the child abuse, the gang violence, the homelessness, the addictions, all greenlit by self-serving police and judicial institutions that pretend to stand for order. Around the world, people recognize conflict revealed in its tiresome, never-ending ugliness. Israel and Palestine, Afghanistan, Haiti, Sudan, Ukraine, Russia, and more. But Canada's violence is quiet. It hides beneath a persistent mythology of civility and order. Many of Canada's citizens have long passed the breaking point. We are exhausted from propping up our national and provincial flags in the name of social dominance by the few who continue to bludgeon us. Pity Canada's whistleblowers, those who strive to make their country a better place, only to be abused by the very police and judiciary that have always called them to come forward and speak out against injustice. We do not publish to provoke. We publish to make visible what has long been concealed: failures within Canada's judicial, policing, and political institutions that continue to erode public trust and target the vulnerable, all while the bullies proclaim their victimhood. Minister Ananda Sangari, as Canada's Minister of Public Safety, your role comes with benefits and responsibilities. The benefit is a position of esteem, the privilege to wear fine clothing, to stand before microphones. But the responsibility is weighty, because when those beneath you federally or provincially fail, you are the ultimate keeper of accountability. Whether we are approaching an iceberg or have already hit several and are slowly sinking, your role is indisputable. As the second in command to the Prime Minister, all eyes are on you. And with that said, with regard to the individuals who threatened our families' lives, harassed us, defamed us, and weaponized Canada's institutions against us, we have remained well-intentioned toward the community around us throughout. But our patience has long since been exhausted. We will be pursuing all legal action available to us against the RCMP, the town of Cochrane, and the province of Alberta. And we intend to keep the public informed of that journey through this channel. Ministers, were it not for the open internet, Canada's institutions of policing and justice would have disappeared our family a long time ago. On behalf of those who can no longer speak, we will stand with those who still can to maintain a ledger of truth so that what others erase, we will record. Not just as archivers of history, but as architects of a better future.